how does one go about deciding that they want to delegate and actually put the things in place? And it's more simple than we would think. And I use a couple very simple, comically simple analogies to explain this. But the first thing is we have to educate our people. Again, going back to the what, why, and how framework, what are we trying to accomplish? I would imagine if I asked if I asked every roofing company in the United States, all their employees, what do you think this company is supposed to look like in 10 years? The percentage who could answer that question would be less than 5%. I'd be very confident in making that estimation. So the first thing we have to do is educate them on a handful of basic things. What are we trying to build? What is this company going to look like in 5 years, 10 years, or in 25 years? Whatever time frame we want, but what are we aiming for? The second thing we have to educate them on is, why does it matter that we're here? If our company stopped existing tomorrow, what hole would be left in the market? What do we do better than anybody else? What does it do that we do that is different from the competition that matters enough to leave an impact if we weren't here? What is our customer, or who is our customer? What are their needs? How do we address their needs? If we can't identify to people what their process is through from the time they first have contact with us all the way through the last time they write us a check or pay with a credit card, if we cannot explain to them and educate them on what that journey looks like, and supplementing that information with what are we trying to build and why does it matter we exist, we cannot have a reasonable expectation they can make good decisions. So the simple analogy I use is, imagine it's December and I say to you, I need you to pack a suitcase. And it's critical. Like, it's really, really important you pack this suitcase correctly. Most people, the first thing they would say is, no problem. Where are you going? Now, why would they ask that? Well, they ask that because if you're going to Maine in December or Maui to December, you're packing a very different suitcase. Now, what we tend to do is say, don't worry about where I'm going. You just get the suitcase packed correctly. And when they don't pack it correctly, we go, have you never packed a suitcase before? How can you not pack a suitcase? And they're sitting there going, I would be able to pack a suitcase if I knew where we were going. The second thing they would ask is, what's the purpose of the trip? In most cases, they would want to know what's the purpose of the trip. Are we going to Maine for Great Aunt Tilda's funeral? Or are we going to Maui for a week on a vacation? Again, those are very different things we're going to pack. Am I packing a snorkeling thing? Am I packing a swimsuit? Or am I packing a parka and a black suit? Those are very different things. What we tend to do, though, is say, don't worry about those things. You just focus on the suitcase, but you better make sure you get it right. So how we begin having the ability to delegate decision-making to people is we first explain to them, what are we trying to accomplish? Why does it matter that we're here? Who was our client? And what is their experience like through the different encounters they're going to have with us? For example, if it's an auto repair shop, there's probably 5 or so different points of contact. The customer makes a phone call or sends an email or whatever to schedule an appointment. They come drop off the car. We call them and let them know what the diagnosis is and how much it's going to cost. We call them and let them know it's time to come pick it up, and then they come pick it up. So there's basically 5 steps along the way. If our employees cannot explain to us in a way that we know and we recognize that they understand at a deep level what that experience is for the client in each one of those stages, they're not very well equipped to make good decisions. So for example, if they're dropping off their car, they're the second encounter in our auto shop example is completely fictitious. They've made the appointment to drop off the car. Now they're actually here to drop off the car. If our employees cannot explain to us what the client is thinking, feeling, and doing at the beginning of that encounter, and what we want them to be thinking and feeling and doing at the end of the encounter, it's not very likely they can make good decisions. All they can do is do the tasks that we assign them because they don't understand the context. They don't understand what's important. They don't understand what the client is using for decision-making criteria. They don't understand what really matters to them. So if they can't explain to us what the client is thinking, feeling, and doing at the beginning, and what we want them to be thinking, feeling, and doing at the end of each one of these 5 encounters, how could they possibly make good decisions? So we start by explaining the overarching thing. What are we trying to accomplish? Why does it matter? Who is our client? Here's what they're thinking and feeling, doing at the different stages of these encounters. Then they can begin to understand the context of things. They begin to understand what really matters. So the first thing is education. We have to educate them about all these things. The second piece is we have to train them on the parts that they don't intuitively get. So again, there's only 2 reasons people don't do things. One, they have a compelling reason not to, or a perceived compelling reason not to. And the second one is they don't know how. So if they understand what we're trying to accomplish, why it matters, what the customer's motivation is, all those things, they will have a sense of doing the right thing just because they want to be good. They want to do a good job in most cases. Where they will fall short then is not understanding how to do something. So we do training, for example. One of the things that almost all service companies have to do in the beginning is establish some kind of rapport with the customer. Okay, so if I asked an HVAC employee who's out in the field, the technician who goes out to people's homes to diagnose a problem and fix a problem, what does it look like to establish rapport? Again, if I asked every HVAC technician across the country, I would estimate that a smaller percentage than we would like would be able to answer that question. So this is where training comes in. Now we've established what we're trying to do, the journey we're taking the customer on, where the company is going, why we exist, why the customer has the criteria, the concerns that they do, and how they make decisions. Now we can train the things that they don't intuitively know. So once we've educated them, once we've trained them, they have all this information now to be able to make good decisions. Now we can trust that in most cases, we can trust that they're going to make good decisions because they understand all the underlying contextual stuff that helps shape good, solid decision making. But what we tend to do is say, you don't worry about where we're going. You don't worry about why we're going there. You don't worry about what I really want in that suitcase. Not you just make sure you get it right. And then we get wildly frustrated when it doesn't happen the way we want.